And while we're still on the subject of my father, um, he and I had, you know, this conversation that we're having about, masculinity and performative masculinity. My dad and I had a very beautiful conversation a couple of years ago. And I was sharing with him, about where I was going with my private practice and, wanting to focus on, this conversation of masculinity. Like at that time, the term that was being thrown around was toxic masculinity, which I don't really use anymore. But it created this really beautiful conversation with me, with my father and myself, where we got to really unpack not only his and my relationship, but also his relationship with his father. And it was a really, really powerful exploration that we had never had before. And I learned a lot from him about and how much I appreciate how he was with me as, a black man raising a black man in America. Because his father was not very affectionate with him growing up. Very rarely did, my grandfather say, just verbally say, "I love you." Rarely did he show him, or any of his boys physical signs of affection. And he noticed this when he had one of his best friends at the time. He would notice his friend and his father, and he noticed that, his friend's father was very, loving and, openly affectionate, with his friend. And so he kind of, he yearned for that, that physical affection from his father that, he never really got, So when he got older, when he became an adult, he he would, and I can recall this, even when I was little, but even more so as I got older, when he would take me over to my grandparents' house. My grandfather would be sitting in his recliner chair, and we would walk in, and the first thing my dad would do when we would walk in is he would walk up to my grandfather sitting in the chair and kiss him right on the top of his head. and at first, when he first started doing it, my grandfather was very resistant. He was like, "Boy, get off of me," that sort of thing. But the more he did it, my grandfather became less and less resistant to it. And because of that experience, when I came along, one of the things that my dad shared this with me, and I was really touched. I was moved to tears even when he shared this with me. He said, "I always, when you came along, I always wanted to make sure that, number one, that you knew without any doubt that I loved you. And two, that you didn't have any reservation about sharing your love with me." So even to this day, my father and I still kiss each other on the lips. I'm 41 years old. My dad's going to be 60 next week. I'm actually driving down to Louisiana to celebrate his 60th birthday with him.
I appreciate that, but it's still really weird for me.
But yeah, it's something that we don't think about doing. It's something that we do. We've always done it, and I never was that type of kid that was like, oh, it's now uncool to do that, and like I never cared about how I look to my friends, and at least not in on that level. Yeah, we all have our insecurities as kids and want to be popular on certain levels or whatever, but it was never in that domain for me, as far as showing affection to my family and things of that nature. If anything, I yearned for, like, I always loved and embraced physical touch, physical affection. Actually, one of my top love languages is physical touch.
Shocker.
Yeah. My two love languages, it was actually a tie. It was physical touch and quality time. Those are my two. But yeah, that really touched me when he shared that with me, and I always felt that I can never recall ever a time where I felt like I couldn't share or express the love that I have for him directly to him. And I never felt like he ever withheld his love for me in any way. So for that, I am forever grateful, and appreciative. And it's that's another aspect of my dissertation work that I want to explore is, why is it and it's more prevalent in some cultures than others, but why is it so frowned upon for men to be emotionally affectionate with each other? That's always been somewhat baffling to me. Like, I on an intellectual level, I get thinking about all of the constructs around what it means to be masculine, what it means to be feminine, and then of course the whole sexual orientation conversation comes in. So I get all of that on an intellectual level, but on an emotional level, I'm just like, why? Why? Like, really? Yeah, like, remove all the constructs, remove all the narratives, strip it all down. Why? Why are men not allowed in certain societies to express our love and affection for one another without it being turned into something that it's not?